Good morning, students. This is Sandeep, and you are welcome in English class. And today we are going to start our next poem, Granny's Tree Climbing. It's a very beautiful poem by Ruskin Bond. So, first of all, let me tell you something about the poet. Ruskin Bond is an Indian author of British descent. The Indian Council for Child Education has recognized his role in the growth of children's literature in India. He was awarded the Sahitya Academy Award in 1992, Padma Shri Award in 1999, and Padma Bhushan Award in 2014. He has written many books for children, some dealing with his own childhood, others dealing with the lives of contemporary Indian children. Bond spent his childhood at his grandparents' house in Dehradun, where he grew up in the company of a number of pets. He developed a deep love for nature, which is evident in most of his works. In this poem, the poet tells us about his granny. She was fond of climbing trees. She was 62 years old. She was the master of the art of climbing trees. When last she climbed a tree, she was 62 years old. Her family members were always feared that one day she would have a terrible fall. But Granny was so habitual of climbing tree that at last she called her son and asked him to build a house in a treetop. This showed that his granny had great love towards nature. And during the poem recitation, I'll tell you the difficult word meaning and the literary figure of speech. So you are requested to listen this recording twice and thrice to understand the poem nicely and underline all the difficult words with proper figure of speech. So now starting the poem. My grandmother was a genius. She would like to know why, because she could climb trees spreading or high. She would be up their branches in a trice, and mind you, when last she climbed a tree, she was 62. The poet says his granny was genius. Genius means extraordinarily intelligence, because his granny was master of the art of climbing trees. She could climb trees whether the trees were spreading or high. She would be up their branches in a trice. Trice means very quickly, means in no time she would be up their branches. And when last time she climbed a tree, she was 62 years old. She learnt this art from her loving brother when she was 6 years old. So ever since childhood, she had this gift. And this gift gave him more happiness in the branches of a tree than in a lift. And now, as years went by, she would be told that climbing trees should stop when one grew old, and that growing old should be gone about gracefully. Gracefully means क्या होता है? In an elegant way. She would laugh and say, "Well, I'll grow old disgracefully. I can do it better." Here, poet says, as years had passed, she would be told that she should stop the activity of climbing trees at the age of 62 because it was not good to climb trees at this age. But Granny always laugh and say, "I'll grow old disgracefully," but she can do it better even now also. Means Granny convinced the family members she could do better even now. We had to agree, for in all the garden there was not a tree she had not been up at one time or another. But it was feared by all that one day she had have a terrible fall. The outcome was different. While we were in town, she climbed a tree and couldn't come down. We went to the rescue, and then the doctor took Granny's temperature and said, here poet says the granny convinced all the family members because in the garden there was not a tree she had not been up at one time or another. But all the family members were feared that one day she would have a terrible fall and the result will be different. Once the family members were in town and she climbed a tree, but she couldn't come down. And when the family members came in rescue, then the doctor checked Granny's temperature and he strongly re- recommend means suggested a quiet week in bed. Means the doctor suggested a 1 week rest in bed. We sighed with relief and tucked her up well. Tucked means cover. Now we the family members felt sigh of relief and cover her up. But for poor Granny, it was like a brief season in hell. In this line, there is a figure of speech named simile. Simile means when a comparison is made in two totally different things with the help of like or as. It is called simile. Confined to her bedroom while every breeze whispered of summer and dancing leaves, but she held her peace till she felt stronger and then sat up and said, I'll lie here no longer. And she called for my father and told him, undaunted, that a house in a treetop was what she now wanted. My dad knew his duties. He said that that's all right. You will have what you want, dear. I'll start work tonight. With my expert assistance, my son, he soon finished the chore. Chore means क्या होता है? Job. Made her a tree house with window and a door. Now this season was like hell for Granny because she was not allowed to go outside and she had to spend all her time on bed. And the every breeze whispered of summer and dancing leaves. She feel the sound of dancing leaves. In these two lines, there is also a figure of speech named personification. Personification means when human qualities are given to non living things, to an idea or an animal. But as soon as she felt stronger, then she sat up and said, I'll lie here no longer. And to get rid from that hell, she called her son and asked him to build a house in a tree top for her. And her son knew his duties, so he said, that's all right, because her son wanted to fulfill his mother's wish. So, build a house in a treetop with proper doors and windows. He started that work that night with his expert assistance, the poet. Now Granny moved up, and now every day the poet also climbed to her room with glasses and a tray. Granny sat there in a grand style and drank sherry. Sherry means a kind of wine with author, with Ruskin Bond. In this way, Granny sat with her grandson and enjoy the sherry. And students, once again you are requested to listen this recording twice and thrice to understand this poem. Thanks and have a nice day.